Hi and welcome to Matt's Music. Today we're going to be having a look at the Fosi Audio DAC Q4 little mini external DAC. I've been using this for about 6 months now and I've found it very impressive. So we're going to run through the features and at the end I'm going to tell you whether or not I think it's worth picking one up. So stick around. So first of all, why would you be even looking for a product like this? If you've got a laptop, for example, or a PC, and you want to play games through it, for example, or you've got a console and you want to play games, and you want better sound quality coming out of that than you get through just plugging things into the headphone port or via the Bluetooth port, which is worse, then having a way of having the digital to analog processing done outside of the laptop will greatly improve your listening experience. If you're listening to music on your laptop and you want to play that through headphones or connect it into your main hi-fi stack, again, using the onboard DAC in a laptop or a tablet or a phone isn't going to give you the best experience for doing that if you're streaming music or playing digital audio files that might be stored on a local hard drive or something. Having that all processed through whatever is put, sort of stuck and glued onto that motherboard inside that machine isn't going to be as good as having something that's a dedicated external source. So that's really the sort of primary function for it. It is also, I found, very, very good as a DAC to use in a more serious environment. I've actually found that it's an improvement over the DAC that comes with my Marantz UD5005 universal disc player. So that's got a pretty decent DAC in it. And I played around with both of them for a while to see which one I preferred. And I do think that this one gives a little bit more separation from the instruments and just a nicer sound quality overall. Everything seems to pop a little bit better with the Fosi Audio Q4. So it's a fairly simple device. On the front you have got a little toggle switch which will send you between, if it'll focus on that. Top one is USB. If you put it down into the middle, you can set it to optical, and then the bottom one is coaxial. So that's the three ways that you can get digital sound into the converter. And so you can have actually three things plugged in at the same time. One via USB, like a computer or something. On my system, I've got the telly plugged into it via the optical port on the back. So you've got USB in there, optical in there, and then I've got the CD plugged in via the coaxial. So whichever one I want to listen to, it's very simple. You just flip the little switch up at the front and it'll automatically then give you the sound from whatever source is plugged into the corresponding one of these three on the back. And then of course the box does its thing and then it shoots out analog audio through the RCA jacks on the back, and then that goes back into my Yamaha AV receiver at the back, then goes out through the speakers. So it's pretty straightforward. It's fairly easy to control on the front as well. You've got a button here that does the volume, and it's also an on-off button, so you can hear it clicking when it gets to the on position, and you can just turn the volume up and down. Quite nice feeling buttons. There's a sort of little machine turning to the edge of them, which I don't know if you can necessarily pick out, but it feels nice actually. It's got a sort of dampened, nice feel to it, and it's the same with these treble and bass controls as well. Now I know in the true audiophile sphere, people sort of poo-poo any sort of equalization, and everything should be exactly neutral and how it sort of came out of the source. I'm not really one of those people. I like to tune things a little bit, simply because you're never ever going to be able to replicate unless you're playing the original master tapes in the original studio where they were recorded. You're never going to get exactly what that engineer sound heard anyway on the day. So just the shape of your room or the speakers you use or the other parts of the equipment that you use is going to colour the sound anyway. So I like to have some sort of control somewhere in the system that allows me, if the bass is a little boomy or the treble's a little flat or something, to be able to adjust that to taste. So that gives you access to those on the front. The one thing about this is it doesn't have a remote control, it's designed primarily, I think, for use. If you've got it sat next to a laptop or a games console or something, maybe you've got some headphones on, it's sat on a desk. You can reach across and and play it. The way I've got it set up is in the main stack for the most part of its life, at any rate. And so therefore you have to get up and walk across the room in order to change the settings like it was the 1970s. So if that's something that bothers you, I'm sure there are other things on the market that don't do that. This one does. You'll have to use your feet as the remote control for it. The unit itself is very, very small and compact. I mean, you can see it's about the size of a deck of cards, something like that. And it feels, because it's quite small, it's fairly dense, and so it feels like a bit of heft in your hand, so it feels good quality in that regard. But what the indicator that it doesn't weigh very much is that if you've got fairly thick cables at the back, like my RCA cables are relatively fat and my coaxial cable is relatively fat, and if there's a slight curve in the cable, it's enough to actually sort of push the thing like on the shelf, like from sitting flat. The curve of the cable will sort of push it up a little bit nose first, because the cable is strong enough to move the little box. Which means that the sort of face doesn't sit flat. You can adjust the cables a little bit, pull them a little flatter, and it will sit flush on the desk. But if you use fairly beefy cables, that's just something to be aware of, I think, and an indicator really of just exactly how compact and tiny this little thing is. Now, is it going to replace, if you've got a sort of high-end stereo system and perhaps you've got an external DAC already that costs you $500 or $1,000 or £5,000, whatever, or dollars, whatever you spent on it, is it going to replace that? No, probably not. But if you are looking for a really cheap and simple way of just upgrading the sound of the CD player that you've got, perhaps you're currently using it with the internal DAC that's built into it. Perhaps you want to improve the sound of your streaming or your locally saved audio files on your computer. Stuff like that, it is brilliant, and I can't recommend it enough. The other great use for it, it's USB-C to charge. Now the reason that's important is because what you can do with it, because it's relatively low power, is you can plug it in to power it from a battery bank. So if you want to be on a train or going on holiday somewhere, or you can have this being powered by a little external battery pack, and listen to music, that's perhaps on your phone or on a laptop or tablet or something like that on the go, and have like a powered external DAC to get really cool sound quality when you're just out and about. And so that's a really useful feature, and of course it can fit in a pocket. Now, by the time you've got all the cables and everything set around, I mean, if you're on a train with a decent sized table on it, you'd probably be able to set all that up. The little trays that come on the back of an aeroplane seat, maybe not, unless you're sort of flying in a better class of aeroplane than I normally fly, where you've got perhaps a sort of tray that big to put a cup of coffee on or something. This all isn't going to fit, but when you get to the hotel, if you really care about good quality music on the go, it's an option that you can do. So to summarise, the Fosi Audio DAC Q4, would I recommend it? Yes, absolutely. I think it's tremendous value. I think there is possibly, I bought this about 6 months ago, I think there is a Q5 out now, so check out that. I'll see if I can get my hands on a review sample just to see what it's like, but they do still sell these, and that might be the reason why the price has gone down by $5 as well. I am certainly very pleased with that. The sound quality is great. It's been very reliable since I've had it, and the only if there's one negative to it, I would say it is there's a tiny little LED there for that indicates when the power has come on, and it is a small hole that's probably 0.5 millimeter across, drilled into the fascia plate there with an LED behind it. But that light is so bright coming out of that tiny hole that even across the room, it feels like it's going to sort of, you could if you opened a window, it would take a plane down. So that is very, very bright. And what I actually do is I get a tiny little bit of tape and stick it over the hole. So all you really got to do is that, and the problem goes away. Don't know why the bright light had to be that bright. Apart from that though, very small growth. Everything else about it I've been really impressed by. Let me know below if you've got one of these, or if you've got any recommendations for other low price, cheap budget DACs that you've been using and have done you good service, because it's always good to share with other people your experiences. As always, please subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.